Okay, so before you completely adopt the if they wanted to, they would mantra, which has some validity to it, let's unpack that a little bit more because it's so layered and there's often so much more to it than that. So before we develop a narrative about someone that they don't care, let's understand first that there's a very big difference between, and often a big gap between somebody's intent and their desire and their capacity to follow through on it. And it's not necessarily that they don't care. They themselves might be very confused by the gap between the two and why they can't seem to connect. But they have to be integrated, and that takes integrating two different parts of the brain. So you have your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the executive functioning where you're going to get the follow through from. And then you have the limbic system is where, you're going to have the intent and the desire. And there's often a mismatch there. Okay, they have to be integrated, those two parts and those two functions. And so before we decide that somebody doesn't care and that's why they're not doing it, if they cared enough, they would, we have to be careful that we don't apply a narrative to someone who's actually operating in a state of like a survival coping strategy where they're not able to integrate those two things because something's kind of getting in the way of that signal of them being able to do that. Now, that's not to say that we can't set boundaries on someone having a lack of follow through of things in our lives in a relationship, but just being careful that we're not applying a narrative that really has so many layers under it that just we're operating from a really limited mindset on that. And it's just a bigger, broader picture. So hopefully that helps a little bit.